it's the beginning of the year. It's kind of that natural goal setting time. And we even talked about it on our podcast. The episode that came out today was about goal setting, and the episodes that's coming out next week is also about goal setting. It just feels like I, I taught for so many years that a lot of times, like August and September, feels like the fresh start and the like new year. But when you come out of the world of education, everybody else is doing it in January. Um, and so it just kind of lends itself to like setting a goal or making a change or trying something new. And so we kind of created a tool that we think is a helpful guide that we're just going to walk through tonight, and hopefully people can find it helpful. I think that my microphone is covering my screen. I'm so tech advanced over here. All right. So we think that this tool is just going to be a really nice guide, I think, even for us, because it will kind of walk you through what to look at financially every single month so that you kind of know what to do. Because I think that's a big thing for even me. Sometimes I'm like, gosh, I haven't done anything except look at my budget for the last 6 months. Is there something else I should be thinking about? Am I forgetting something? I also think that the beginning of the year is kind of that reminder of tax season, which is when all of our finances kind of come back to us. And so we were thinking that having like a guide to look at throughout the year would be helpful for that. So basically, what we have is this kind of step by step guide to help us build some financial habits. That's kind of the ultimate goal of this. There's little monthly to-do lists that I'm going to walk through tonight, and then we have a year-end checklist and then a tool to kind of set some goals for savings. So, starting with these little to-do lists, obviously we don't want any of this to feel overwhelming. Finances are overwhelming enough, right? Without adding this big long list of to-dos. So I just tried to keep this very simple, like 3 or 4 things that are good to look at or think about every month. Some of them make sense for the month they're in. Some of them are just like, hey, we need to do this a couple times a year, so this is a good time to remind yourself to do that. So any of this is fluid. If you want to take this to-do list and move it around and make it work for you, take things out, have at it. We want it to be useful and helpful. So in January, this is a really good time to just kind of go through all the major things you might have coming up. So do you know you're purchasing a house? Are you paying for a wedding? Are all those kind of major expenses that we know at the beginning of the year? This is a good time to kind of write all those down and start thinking about that, making sure your retirement contributions are set the way you want them to be, that you start gathering those materials for taxes. I've already been like, oh, it's January. I gotta like find all my business documentation and all the things that I am terrible about keeping track of. And my goal in January every year is I'm going to do a better job of keeping track. And every year I get a little better. I'm just never as good as I want to be. So that is on my list this year again. And then also just kind of write down any financial goals that you have. We've already kind of talked about that. This is that natural time for that. So then moving into February, it's a really good time to look at your insurance. See if you have any questions or if there's any changes that you think you might need to make. Looking at monthly subscriptions and thinking about if any of those can be canceled. I think sometimes we sign up for stuff. I thought February is a nice time for this because this isn't true for everybody, but you may have subscribed to things over the holidays that you wanted to, watch or have access to. If you're a football fan, football is on all kinds of wacky apps and platforms now. So I resubscribed to Peacock so that I could watch a couple football games. So February would be a perfect time for me to like cancel that because I'm not watching it anymore. So it's just a nice time to kind of go through and think, am I really using these? Can I get rid of them? And then looking over your budget. Obviously, that's a good one to do on a regular basis. And then moving into March, thinking about like, okay, all of your tax documents, legally, you should have those by that time, right? So that's a good time to kind of look at those, get started on them. If you do them yourself, this is a great time to kind of get started so that you don't wait until April and then you feel that rush and that pressure. I think checking your credit score is a great thing. I I have it set up so that I get notices if there are any weird things about my credit. And I just got a notice today that I'm using less credit or something like that. And I was like, all right, well, thanks for letting me know. So it was like a good reminder that, oh, yeah, I should check my credit report, make sure there's nothing weird on there that I need to get taken off. And then also your emergency savings. Sometimes you can look at the amount and be like, okay, I feel really good about it. Other times we might look at it and say, you know what, we could probably put an extra 20 bucks in there a month and just kind of try to build that up a little bit more, especially if you had to dip into it at the end of the year. April are those taxes. So if you need to request an extension, make sure that you're doing that this month. Pay any taxes due by the deadline, and then set up an appointment with a financial advisor. This is a really good month to do that. Once you've paid your taxes and you have a really clear picture of your finances from the year before, it's a great time to talk with a financial advisor about what you want this year and then the coming year to look like. I just Even though it's April, I think when you file your taxes, that's when you really see, oh, that's how much I made. That's like, this is where all my money went. It gives you a really clear picture. I can see you guys nodding. So everyone agrees, like, oh yeah. Sometimes it's a great picture and you're like, oh, that feels better than I thought. And other times you're like, I've got to figure something out here. In May, this is a good time. This is something that we used to forget to do all the time, but this is a really good time to look at. May doesn't necessarily a good time, but once a year, it is important to look at your valuable possessions and update your insurance. So if there's anything that you have purchased over the year, any jewelry that you've received, art that you've purchased, any special things that you've added to your house that are valuable, this once a year is a nice time to kind of update your insurance and make sure that that's all on your policy. So I just chose May for that. Seemed like a good time. And then review your will and estate plan. I am talking to myself here. We don't have wills. It's terrible. We When you move, you have to get them set up in a new state. We had an appointment to get them all taken care of in the last state that we lived in. And then we moved unexpectedly, and here we are, and we still haven't set them up. So, something also really important that I need to take care of this year is before May. It's on literally like written down at our house that we need to get it done. So if you don't have it set up, this is a great time for that. And then check for summer travel deals. If you haven't booked your travel yet, sometimes I really think it's good to book travel ahead or at least start planning ahead so that you can watch for flights and hotels and those types of things. But sometimes really close to the traveling time, that's the season, you can get good deals. So this is a great time to kind of check and see, hey, is there somewhere we were already planning on going? Or maybe we can find a great deal that would give us a little bonus getaway. June, check on those financial goals. How are you doing? Are you making progress? And then again, revisit that retirement plan contribution. Are you on track for the year? So, some people, I didn't know this for a really long time, but you can actually max out on your retirement contribution. You're only allowed to contribute a certain amount every year. So, some people try to spread that out throughout the year, but still hit their max by the end. Some people just max it out early and don't worry about it. And then some of us are never going to max it out. But this is a really good time to look at that contribution and decide, am I contributing as much as I wanted to? Is it too much? Is it really impacting my budget? Do I need to decrease or increase to kind of hit my goals? All right, we made it halfway through the year. Anything ahas so far, or anything I feel like I'm just talking way too much. So any anything that you were like, oh, I always do that, or oh, I didn't think about that, or that would be a good thing to try.
Here's what I noted down for me that were relevant that as you were talking was my retirement contributions. I am that person who likes to pay the Roth as much as I'm allowed, 7,000 something. So my Roth and my HSA. Um, Keep and start doing taxes work. Credit history, I noted because I just was on the phone with Chase. I love Chase credit cards, and we just got a new one, and it gets 1.5% interest. versus not interest, sorry, 1.5% cash back versus 1% on our other Chase cards. And so I was talking to the guy about like all of that, and he was like, "Did you know that you can just transfer some of your credit limit between Chase credit cards, and that helps your credit score because all of a sudden we were spending all our money on this higher cashback card."
Mhm.
And I was like, "Ah, I did know it matters for your credit score, but I didn't think about like I could share that credit limit with different cards." Interesting. So that's a good thing to pay attention to. For me, I'm gonna make sure I'm paying up my emergency savings. I need to update my will. We've got a new house and kids are 18 and almost there, and start watching for travel deals. That's what I'm taking away so far. That's a lot, but that's good stuff.
It's a lot. I know. I felt like this is a lot to like go through all at once and listen to my voice go through all of these things. But I also think sometimes if we just hand somebody this tool and say, okay, here you go, we're really likely to like quickly skim over it or just be like, oh, let me just look at the month I'm in. And then we forget to go through it. So I thought if I just make the time and I just kind of talk through it, maybe as I'm talking, also, I think when I hear other people bring things up, it sparks reminders for me that may not even be completely related. And so, just making those connections, I think, can be helpful. So I'll keep going. Interrupt me if you have questions or anything else you think of. So for July, this is a good one to refresh your financial skills. Read a book, take a class, look for some articles about something that might interest you. If you're interested in investing in a certain type of fund and you're like, hey, this would be a good time to learn about that, or anything like that, a quick Google search will afford you a bazillion things. And also trust your gut when it comes to that. If somebody's book sounds too good to be true, or they're teaching you some crazy financial skill and you're like, I mean, it's okay to gut check on some of that stuff and skip over it. Another time to review your budget and see if you need to make any changes moving forward. And then if you have kids in school or you're in school yourself and you need to purchase some back to school supplies, it's a good time to kind of be mindful about that. They can really get expensive, so it's nice to think about it a little bit ahead. July might not be ahead for some of us. um, I know our school here starts pretty early in August, but it's a good time to start thinking about that. So for August, it's a good time to make a plan for upcoming school year expenses. So if your kids play sports, those can really add up. If they are involved in any sort of camps or anything that they go to in the summer, August might be a time to think, okay, this is how much we spent on camps this summer. This is how much we spent on sports last year. We can kind of start to prepare for the upcoming seasons and the camps for the following year, so you know how much money to kind of budget for those. And then review your savings goals. Are you on track? How's it looking? September is a time to again check your credit card benefits. Again, I'm saying, Sybil, you kind of mentioned that. So, do you have points or benefits available, things that you need to use or could be using? Do you need to plan holiday travel? This is another time where a lot of us travel. So it's a good time to start looking at that if you haven't already planned. And then set up a holiday budget. Try to spread your spending out over a few months to avoid like overspending all in one month. I think that's a nice time of year to start to. I am the annoying aunt who we don't have kids. We have dogs and they don't ask for much treats and toys and they're happy, and pets and scratches. If we can give them those things, I have one laying right there. Now, they're very happy, but the nieces and nephews, I'm sure, would like gifts. So I'm the annoying aunt who sends the text at like the first week of October. Hey, it's that time of year again. Does anybody have their gift list or their wish list ready? And I say in my message, I really liked if I could spread out my spending so that I don't have to buy it all at once. And some of them are great about getting back to me, and some of them are not. But if I can buy things early, I do. October, if you asked for a tax extension, it's due. It's due this month. So that's just a little reminder. This doesn't apply to all of us, but Medicare open enrollment begins. So even if it doesn't apply to you, maybe parents or aunts, uncles, anybody like that, And then reassess your financial goals. We're getting towards the end of the year. So, are there any adjustments you want to make for the last few months? November, this is a good time to review charitable donations. If you, we typically have a set amount of money that we like to give, and a lot of times it ends up going out at the end of the year. But we do make donations throughout the year. Like the fires are happening right now, so we'll probably make donation to an organization that's supporting that. So sometimes we do spread them out throughout the year. So this is a good time to kind of review. Did we donate what we wanted? Is there somebody else, somewhere else that we want to make sure we direct our money before the end of the year? Make a plan to avoid, I guess, the holiday induced financial stress because, again, I wanted to like bring it back. It can get super overwhelming for people. And I know that there's this like pressure to give your I mean, there was the trend on social media this year to do your like gift haul. And like some people were sharing the gifts they got or the gifts they were giving. And I was like, the amount of money that some people were spending was insane. Now, I'm not in their pockets. I'm not judging people for the amount of money that they spend or the way that they want to give gifts. I think that it's a really personal thing and you should do whatever works for you and your family. But I just hate how it makes other people feel like they also need to spend that much money to kind of keep up. And so I just want people to like make a plan to avoid the stress. Whatever it is that you're going to do for the holidays, like it's okay to do what works for you and your family. And then also just be thoughtful about that credit card use. It's the time of year, it is so easy to just swipe and click buy now. We don't even have to swipe anymore, right? We just hold our phones or click buy now, like my little Amazon button. Buy now. I don't even have to go into the cart anymore, right? So it's just a time to like be extra thoughtful. And then in December, it's a busy time of year, but if you can just take a little bit of time to check on your tax benefits, is there anything you can do at the end of the year to kind of maximize those tax benefits? Reflect on the wins from the year and celebrate. Like if you've got more money in your emergency savings than you ever had before, that's something to celebrate. That's really exciting. If this is the first year that you've like made a budget, reflect on those things and celebrate. Set goals for the coming year. And then again, at the end of the year, if you're looking for a tax benefit from your charitable donations, I know that's not the only reason people donate, but it is a benefit. So this is a good time to make any of those additional donations before. This is the 900th year in a row we have been making them on December 31st at like 10 at night because we were like, oh my gosh, we keep forgetting. So don't be like us. Do it a little earlier. And then I've left a space here at the bottom, just notes and next steps. Also, because some of us are going to be like, Medicare doesn't apply to me. Some of these things don't apply, but we can make some notes here about things that might work for you. All right, second half of the year. Any questions, comments, thoughts? Nothing.
I can share mine again, what I wrote down. So, reviewing budget, I love that. I'm gonna put that in quarterly. And I love your idea, Jennifer, of putting in my Google Calendar after taking this into my Google Calendar. So I'm gonna put reviewing my budget and quarterly and the school expenses that catch me so bad, the AP exams and the sports and stuff. So thank you for that. Holiday budget. I did good this year, my first time like ever. So I'm gonna put that in to do that again. Donation plan. I've never made a budget or a donation plan. Like I donate quite frequently, but I have no idea how much I donate. So I like that idea. I already said holiday and then celebrate wins I wrote down. So we can do that together because sometimes I'm good at it and sometimes I'm not. So
Right.
those are
I see we have a note in the chat that not everyone is good at win celebrating, but I think that sometimes if we could just like be like, hold on, look at this thing I did. Doesn't even have to be like an actual celebration, but like a moment of recognition where you're like, oh, I actually did that thing. Because sometimes I think we focus on all the things we didn't do, or
Mhm.
like the money we didn't make, or the investments we didn't get done or all the things, but we forget to focus on like, oh, well, I wanted to have this much money in savings and I didn't hit that, but I did get this much, which is like more than I had before. So I think it does help. It motivates me also to keep going if I look at the things that are going well versus the things that are not going as well. So I've tried to, I know Sybil and I have had conversations about making an effort to really focus on the things that are going well because it just makes it easier to keep going.
Yep, for sure.
So
For
this
sure.
is this is I know it's the beginning of the year, but the year-end financial planning checklist still kind of applies. It's that whole taxes thing, we got going on. So this is a checklist. I made some changes, but I found this financial planning company online and they had this checklist. And I was like, oh, that is so smart. I really liked the idea. So some of this is things that they had suggested. Some of it is things that I added, ran it by Sybil. She gave me some feedback as well. So I think it's just nice at the end of the year to do this sort of like inventory of where we are and are there things that we did, didn't do, forgot to do, any of that. This is a guide. I put that in the description because I don't want anyone to feel like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what that like if it, not everything's going to apply to all of us, right? So this is just a guide. That's why I left blanks at the bottom. People can cross stuff off or add in whatever, but this is just a good time of year, all those taxes again. But thinking about your income for the current and upcoming year, your net investment income, any sales that you made of appreciated property. Again, some of this is like, we didn't sell anything last year. So like this doesn't apply, right? To me, but some people might have. And so it's something to think about. And then there's those charitable donations again. If you've got investment goals, your portfolio that you need to like make changes to, uh, any outstanding loans and mortgages that you want to mess around with. I have a client who just was like, you know what, I have this tiny little uh I'm not her financial advisor. We were just having a conversation about something completely different, but she was like, I have this tiny little amount left on this house that she's been this home that they've had for a really long time. And she was like, I just want to pay it off so I don't have to deal with it anymore. Okay, great. That's like one of those things where you can think about, do I have anything small where I could just pay it and be done with that payment? Employee stock options, that doesn't again apply to everybody, but for some of us that's a bonus. And then here's some milestones for ages. And the reason I included this is I thought, you know obviously this doesn't apply to all of us, right? We're not all in our 70s or 60s, but I thought we have got parents and sometimes they forget about things and sometimes they need reminders. And so I thought, oh, this is just a nice guide to know that, oh, you can start doing this at this age. Oh, you're eligible for this at this age. And so I included it for that as well. Here's those retirement things we kind of talked about before. Um, and then I included some health things. Do you need to change your health plan? At the end of the year, a lot of companies have open enrollment. So this is like a time where you might think about, how do I want to juggle the finances involved with my healthcare plan? Again, your insurances, whether it's your home insurance, property, whatever, that's the same thing. You know what I mean. Life and property. And then did you have changes this year? Things that are going to really impact you. So this long list of changes that might impact you financially with taxes, with whatever you've got going on, and then family stuff. It can make a difference. I know some families like gift cash every year to try to impact the end result of the cash giving and lessen the amount of money people receive at the end. So any of this kind of stuff can impact you financially. And then got this little savings sh- worksheet at the bottom because I think that a lot of people, the goals that we set have to do with saving money, whether it is for something very specific or just increasing our stockpile, as I like to call it. So, it's just like a little worksheet where you can kind of do a little math, salaries, other incomes, figure out what your expenses are, and then kind of write down some goals that you have here for short and long term savings. I know that sometimes it's nice to have a place where you just kind of put it all in one spot. I tend to be somebody who's got like goals in my planner and goals in a notebook and like they're all over the place. And so I thought, you know what? If we could just get them all in one spot, that would be helpful for people. And if we could keep it in the place where you're also like using it as a guide or a reference to check on your finances throughout the year, it would be like a good place to kind of come back and see how you're doing, check in, and all of that good stuff. This document isn't meant to be the only thing you use for your finances for the year, but it is a jumping off point.
It's super thorough, Jen. Amazing. Like you said, some of the things are like, yeah, I have to do that and I have to do it that month or I could change it. But also some of the things triggered, some other ideas for me. I love it.
Good.
Amazing.
That was just really my hope, like, hey, and that's again, I keep using the term guide, like we called it a guide because I don't ever want to give anybody the impression that Sybil and I have it all figured out, that we know all the things. Like there's always stuff that I'm like, oh, I didn't even think about that, or oh, I didn't even consider it because it maybe has never personally impacted us. So I don't even think about that as like something that impacts people's taxes or, their income for the year. Um, there are all kinds of things. So if you are on Medicaid, at no time can you have more than like $2,000 in your account. And so that can really impact people on how they manage money. I actually had a lady ask me if I knew, and I was like, I don't know. But she was like, do you know how I can? She was on disability and she was like, I can only keep $2,000 in my account. So, like, how do I also create a savings? Like, how do I also save money so that I can like help my kids or whatever? And so, there's all kinds of things that impact us and our families and people that we care about that we don't even, know or understand or think about. So, I think we can't cover everything, but we can just start to, I don't know, open our eyes and be a little bit more aware of all of the things that we have going on and things that we could be taking advantage of, right?
Yes, that's the thing, right? You don't know what you don't know. But we're building the habit of learning and paying attention and talking about our money, right? And so then when those things come up, or we're more likely to see an opportunity by asking a question, or right?
Mhm.
Um, and that's what the Female Finance Collective is all about, is like, let's educate ourselves.
Right.